Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another unique item, and yeah, I finally got it, the Doombringer. The Doombringer is an uber unique item that is particularly difficult to get my hands on, and as you can tell, since we're like way into season 2, and the countless number of dual runs that I've actually had to do to get my hands on this, and it wasn't actually my persistence that paid off, it was, well, they doubled the drop rate during Christmas. I know. Well, at least I got one. So the Doombringer is a unique sword, and it is capable of being used by the Necromancer, the Rogue, and the Barbarian. All of them have access to one-handed swords. The Doombringer does get upgraded, and this one is already upgraded 5 times, so the stats are basically perfect. Well, they are perfect, because ever since the patch, they changed the Uber Uniques so that they don't roll anymore, so they are just always perfect. This one in particular is a sword, so it has the 26.2% critical strike damage, which is innate to all swords. All swords have that 26.2, as you can see. And joined with me today is Mr. Dusty Bones. What are you doing, little Dusty Bones? I finally got my Chinchillas up here, so I figured I'd celebrate by having them with me on a video. Isn't that right, Mr. Dusty? It also has 26.2% enhanced damage, which is pretty nice. 29.2% core skill damage, so this one is kind of geared directly toward a core skill. It also has a massive 41.4% maximum life, which is just insane. If you look at how much life I have right now, which is 15,153, and that's with no hat, by the way. Hold on, let me go put a hat on my head. The other day I was farming for many hours trying to get a Melted Heart of Saleg and other uber uniques because of the double drop rate, and I got several new Harlequin Crash Shakos as well. Yes, I know, several. I'm not even kidding. Yesterday I had 2 Harlequin Crash Shakos drop, 2 Andoriel's Visages, 1 Doombringer, 2 Ring of the Starless Skies drop, but no Melted Heart of Saleg. I also had a Havarion Staff as well. The double drop rate really is legit. So if we take this and we put it on, we've got 17,446 health already. Throw that in one of the weapon slots, and now we've got freaking 21,825 health, which is just kind of insane. It is pretty insane. And that's just one of the many advantages of this. It also has a lucky hit of up to a 5% chance to just heal you for 1,587 health, which is a pretty beefy lucky hit heal. Now, it is only a 5% chance, but if you're a very fast attacker like me on this particular character, I imagine it'll go off quite often because I swing really, really fast. And the special effect on this particular item is actually quite interesting, and we're going to head over to the training grounds because I want to show you this in detail. And this is basically a kind of like an explosion. So first, let's read it, of course. It says, lucky hit up to a 25% chance to deal 8,963 shadow damage to surrounding enemies and reduce their damage done by 20% for 5 seconds. So if we go ahead and attack, you should see the shadow effect happen. It's pretty common. Ours are pretty common. What the ham biscuit? Does it not trigger on the training dummy? I am actually wearing it this time. Unlike in the Lidless Wall video where I forgot to put the shield on. That's strange. I know for a fact I tested this before on the Rogue and it went off like multiple times within a short period of time. But it doesn't seem to be triggering with Frenzy for some reason. Maybe if I switch the weapon slots? That is strange. Could just be a training dummy glitch. Let's go outside real quick and we'll see if it works on the regular monsters. But I swear I tested this last night with my rogue. What when I got it, because I found it on the Rogue, and worked just fine on the Rogue in the training room.
I need more time.
But basically what happens is it puts out a little cloud. It's about the same distance as close. So if you know how big a close circle is, it's a close circle cloud, and it basically hits everything within that. So it's a nice little AoE zone. And everything within the zone is going to be reduced in damage by 20%. Now this is actually surprisingly good because it's a different way of reducing damage than the way that you would normally expect damage to be reduced. And the Doombringer is just not going off. What is going on right now? Let's transfer it over to the Rogue, because I know for a fact it was working on the Rogue yesterday. Maybe it's some sort of glitch with the Barbarian. I really don't know. That's quite strange. But let's talk for a second about why 20% damage reduction to the monster is more valuable than 20% damage reduction to yourself. Now, when you're talking about damage reduction, basically what happens is, in this game, there's diminishing returns on damage reduction. And the damage reduction continually diminishes as you add more and more damage reduction. There is also a hard cap at 85%. You're basically not allowed to go past 85% damage reduction. This means that there is a limit to how much damage reduction that you can stack. And the more damage reduction that you stack, the less effective damage reduction becomes as you approach that 85% limit. And essentially what that means is that, well, you can bypass that with Doombringer. I believe also Decrepify does the same thing on the Necromancer, which is where it reduces the damage of the monster instead of reducing the damage of that's incoming toward you. And to demonstrate this, we can take a look at a notepad real quick, and I can just simply do some numbers. So let's pretend a monster was going to hit me for, I don't know, let's say 100,000 damage. And the highest that I can ever possibly go is an 85% damage reduction cap, right? So that's 100,000 minus 85%, which is going to give me 15k. I'm still going to get hit for 15,000 damage, right? However, if you apply the 20% Doombringer to the 100,000 damage before the negative 85%, that means that you can bypass the 85% damage reduction cap, and you can make your damage reduction go even further. So now it looks like this, which is 100,000 minus 20%, which is going to get you 80,000, and then you apply your 85%. I'm sorry, 80,000 minus 85%, and you end up with 12,000 incoming damage. Notice that because that 20% damage applied before the 85% damage reduction cap, we now have a lower damage incoming than before. And Doombringer is just amazing in this regard because it's applying to the monster and it's not applying specifically to you. Let's go see if I can get the effect to happen on this girl. It worked just fine on her. I'm not sure what's going on with the Barbarian. That kind of sucks that it's not triggering with his frenzy. But I definitely want to show you the effect. The effect is actually kind of cool. It's just like a little tiny, like shadow cloud that comes out. Oh, there you go. Worked right away on the rogue like that. So that's the cloud right there. You see it as it pops out, and it's a fairly a decent little size. It's about a close distance, and you can see that it happens often enough that you can pretty much rely on this for the most part to help defend you against a lot of stuff. I don't know exactly how long it lasts. We can't see the debuffs of the monsters, but it hardly matters because, as you can see, as I'm attacking, it occurs more than often enough to maintain a permanent effect on the monster, meaning that you're going to constantly get that damage reduction from the Doombringer. The other interesting thing, of course, also is the 8,963 shadow damage that comes from the Doombringer, which means that you're going to be able to apply that shadow damage to the target. And that might be how you could tell, perhaps, that the monster is still under the effect of the shadow effect, because I do think there is kind of like a shadow damage indicator. I don't know. I don't think it's damage over time shadow though. I'm pretty sure it's just flat damage. There's two different kinds of shadow damage, by the way. It's shadow damage over time and then shadow damage direct. I think this is direct shadow damage, not DOT. If you're scaling shadow damage, which a lot of classes do, like the Necromancer, or maybe you're scaling a shadow imbuement, things like that, you could also potentially scale the damage that comes from Doombringer as well, which is another interesting option. There's also other uses for it, like for instance the Toxic Alchemist loop, which requires actually not that one. No, those are shadow imbuements. Actually, I'm not really sure if any of these can actually get a good effect from it. Now that I think about it, there's a lot of them that require the monster to be chilled or frozen and hit them with a shadow imbuement. There's ones that require you to be poisoned and then hit them with the shadow imbuement. But there's not a lot of them that require the monster to be hit by shadow damage and then hit by another damage type. I suppose you could also utilize this on a I'm trying to think here. I mean, the damage reduction itself is honestly amazing. So, and on all the characters that can utilize it, the Rogue, the Necromancer, and the Barbarian, it's a decent choice. As you can clearly see, though, it's very short range, so it might not do you very much good if you're a long range character. So if you hang in the back for the most part, like maybe like a Blight Necromancer, might not do you as well because that effect is only going to be around you in a circle, but not sure. It could be a very interesting combination with a lidless wall, though, because it does have shadow damage. You could run the lidless wall, convert the bone storms into, like the shadow bone storms, and then run the barrier effects and stuff like that. And you could be kind of like in your face kind of a bone storm necromancer. It definitely would give you a lot of tankiness. I mean, the additional life on its own is a huge tankiness bonus. And then also the additional chance to heal for 1,587 life is another huge bonus there. And then the damage that comes out of it would certainly kill a lot of lesser monsters that would try and come within range of you. So it's a very powerful sword. It's also a very pretty sword too. Just looking at it on the character, it's pretty neat. Let's go over to the wardrobe real quick, and let's take a quick look at it in the wardrobe so you can get a good look at what it looks like. It definitely has like a glowing edge to it. Now, of course, Doombringer is an older sword that was in Diablo 2, and I can't remember if it was in Diablo 1. Let me know down in the comments if it was. But it's a classic. That's the reason why it's in the game, because it is a classic sword. And I should be able to zoom in on it. It looked cooler when it was out. There we go. Very, very interesting looking design. It's got like a skull on the pommel there. The blade looks like it's made out of some sort of like ethereal, like glowing material. Very, very interesting. This stands out very well on your character. I mean, when you have a Doombringer on your hip, it's very obvious that you have a Doombringer on your hip. I'm actually kind of excited to get into some theory crafts with this particular item and see what kind of characters I can make with it. I'm probably just going to throw it on my Barbarian, although that me finding out that it doesn't really work on the Frenzy Barbarian is a little disturbing. I'm not sure if that's just a glitch or what's going on, but it's definitely not cool that it's working on the Rogue, for instance, but not working on the Frenzy Barbarian for some reason. I'd like to see that percent chance work on them too. Whenever this ancient sword has reappeared throughout history, it portends a time of great strife, as well as a devastating loss of life. The Doombringer. That's right, Mr. Dusty, the Doombringer. He said, I don't know about that. It's too glowy. Anyway, I'm happy to get this video finally out. If you're looking for this sword, well, the only person that you're ever going to get this from is Uber Duriel because, well, chances of you getting it anywhere else is slim to none. It's a very tanky sword, and if you're planning on trying to scale the Abattoir of Zir, well, you need tankiness. So having Doombringer along for the ride certainly wouldn't hurt because it gives you a huge amount of HP, healing, and also damage reduction, which is a very nice combination to make your character more tanky. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me for these videos, even when we're just talking about the Doombringer. And as always, keep watching.